Hello, happy Wednesday. No, Thursday. It's Thursday. I hope Wednesday was happy too. But Thursday. Today's Thursday. Oh, happy 2020. It's always Blur's Day. Ugh. Alright. So, I got a bunch of stuff. I'm excited. I have lots of things to work on. It's been a good week. I've been really successful. I've been getting a lot of stuff done. It's a nice feeling. I might actually make tea. Although caffeine-free tea, I have already had 2 cups of caffeinated tea this morning, and whoo, I can tell. I have become that much of a lightweight, which is really pretty funny. Probably good, but funny. Like, I haven't been major caffeine addicted since college, really. I managed to kick that fairly quickly after I wrapped up with college. Because that was a dark time. That was coffee at 3 a.m. and just mainlining caffeine, like chocolate-covered espresso beans and all sorts of bad decisions. But I've been all about the tea and occasional coffee, and especially 2019, I was getting back onto the coffee train a lot more, and that's gone. Now I've cold turkeyed coffee. I haven't had any coffee since September. That was only partially intentional, and then I actually gave up tea. I'd had no caffeine at all for about over a month just to see if I could do it, and I could. And now I'm back to having tea because I like tea and it's fine. But yeah, but that means that now that I'm having tea again after going completely no caffeine, it's like, whee! I had black tea. But that just means I will get lots of little birds repaired, right? Right, definitely. Definitely and for sure. Oh wow, there's a whole nother little kit. I gotta pick out a perfectly reasonable needle. I have some like really old funky needles that I sort of love, which maybe I shouldn't keep using, but they're like stained. I don't know how well you can see it, probably not at all, but they're funky. You haven't had coffee since 11 a.m. Yeah, no, this is being home, right? I could play with that, with can I handle not having caffeine or not, and it's been, the answer is yeah, but it's weird. It's a weird time. I haven't had tea since 11:30. I'm still feeling it. So I have a happy update. I thought that my Amazon order for the stuff to finish this project had been stolen because I got the notification, hooray, hurrah, your Amazon delivery has arrived. It was delivered at 7:41 on December the 8th. And it's in your mailbox. And I was like, okie dokie. And so I go look, and there's nothing there. And I had a sad about it and moved on with my life. And then last night, after checking the mail and all my usual stuff, I get a notification, hooray, hurrah! Your delivery arrived at 7:41, December 9th, and is in your mailbox. And I was like, what? So it's exactly the same notification. They just upped the date one, and lo and behold, there was my package. So I do actually have the batteries, which now we'll have to put them in here and see if they actually work, but I am filled with hope that they will actually be what I need, and then I can start sewing little birdies back up. Not that end. Oh yeah, this is the one that has the actual screw in it. So I'm hoping my feed today will actually feature lots of recorded birdsong, but we'll find out. So this bird is actually the one I'm not giving away to get as a gift. Black-capped chickadees have one of my favorite calls, and so this guy just belongs to me. But I figure it's a good one to start with, get out of the way, and see if this works. Sewing a different kind of bird today. Yes, very different. A plush black-capped chickadee as opposed to an actual black-capped chickadee. Yeah. I did post pictures just now on Instagram and Discord of the bird from yesterday. So, it's not the most amazing one I've ever done, but you know what? This is the second study sin I've done it all since March, so you know, we get through. Alright. Okay, so these are labeled correctly, so here's hoping they're actually the right batteries. How many do I need? 3 or 4? Suddenly I'm blinking. Nope, nope. Positive side down, please. I think it's 3. That feels right. There we go. That's what I want to hear. Fantastic. Fan-frickin-tastic. Okay. So, we are in business. I have my batteries, and at least one of these birds has his voice back. And we are, what, 8 minutes into the stream? Things are going well. Okay. I'll take it. And this one's the oldest. I've had this little plushie for a couple of years now. But that's pretty cool. But chickadees are a pretty common little species of bird in the Midwest, and that's actually why I really wanted a... Yes. Everybody's glad you're working now. I really wanted one because I associate them with summer. Here we go. You have so much to say, small friend. Such a chatty bird. But hey, that means it's working. So, you know, happy there. So what I have to do right now, I've got his voice box back in here, but I'm trying to move the fuzz around it so that there's not like a hard corner of the little voice box sticking out. You want it to still be a cuddly toy. And that'll make it a little quieter too. Okay, small friend. You're looking good. Let's get you sewn up. Just had a needle. Oh, there it is. Oh, I'm so glad these batteries arrived. It was such a bummer when I thought the package had been stolen. I am glad that that turned out to not be the case. I mean, obviously, but just one less thing, you know? I always wonder what people think when they steal the packages off my porch, because it's never like, I don't know what people want, but it's not like electronics in the sexy, you know, iPhone sense or whatever. Like, this package did contain electronics, but that was a bunch of alligator clips and these USB ports that I'm going to potentially solder onto them. Like, I don't think that's what Porch Pirates are really going for. I don't know what's flippable. You know, designer shoes. I'm sure Porch Pirates don't mind, like, useful stuff. Like, if I get, I don't know, a pair of scissors, I'm sure it would be perfectly welcome. But, yeah, circuit board, accessories, and another one that I got stolen this year was paint, black and white paint. Like, alright, I guess give it to your kids. Okay, so let me... So pretty basic little repair. I just have to do a hidden stitch and get this guy closed up. For anybody who's not done a hidden stitch, this is the key, is you go across your seam directly up and then across and directly up, and it just pulls the whole thing together. And then you become the stuffed animal repair hero that you are. It's pretty great, actually. I've actually sewn a couple of stuffed animals just to make them, you know, using cloth I had around, buttons for eyes, all that cute stuff. And I had some amount of intention of doing that this year, like for Christmas presents. No, it did not happen, so that's okay. Voiceless birds are actually a pretty cool Christmas present. But when I manage to make stuffed animals as gifts, I always feel really good about it, because I feel extra special. I'd like to think people think that too, but for right now, that's okay. These are repairs. And I've been giving revoiced birds back to my nephew Shane ever since he was a tiny, tiny, tiny little baby. So, yes, Chardon Mom, happy story. So I thought the package had been stolen because Amazon gave me the update that it had been delivered at 7:41 p.m. on the 8th. And I'm like, no, it's not out there. And I was real bummed about it. And last night, I got another notification that said, hooray, your package has been delivered at 7:41 the 9th. And I'm like, you, what? And yep, there it was. So, you know what, fine. Whatever, fine. I got my batteries. I got my other supplies. I'm happy about it. Fine. So, just had one day of having a tiff about it. And yeah, so I did successfully have it. So yeah, we'll have this. The bird does work now. I'll have the celebratory song once I get it sewn up. But yeah, I'm now working on this one. This one's the only one in that pile that wasn't a gift. This one is mine. But that means it gets to be the first one to make sure I remember how to sew up the hidden stitch and make it actually look good. And make sure the battery works. And I'm happy to say both of these things seem to be the case. I seem to remember how to do this, even though it's been a minute since I've repaired a stuffed animal. Well, again, this type of stuffed animal, a plushie. I've been trying to move away from the term stuffed animal in any use at all, because I do taxidermy and I repair plush toys. And so it's just confusing, because that term is used interchangeably between stuffed toys and real critters. So this is a plushie. I've also heard people refer to them as stuffies. That's not my favorite. And the other birds are taxidermy or mounted. So just trying to have a clearer vocabulary, because that could be fairly confusing. Oh, I don't have a good point. Do I want it here? Yes, I do. But yeah, Christmas is saved. All that important stuff. And you know what? These are not uncommon batteries. If I really needed to, I could walk my butt down to Walgreens and have gotten more. But I'm just really glad that because I purchased a large number, so I was going to be real sad if I lost that many. It's a pretty, it's still like, it was basically like $18 worth of batteries, so it's not breaking the bank here, but I'm glad that it wasn't in fact stolen, and the delivery was just strange. I can deal with a strange delivery. Alright, so I have my little knot that I just tied here. It's tied around some fluff, but I can just pull that out. And I basically just need to tuck this back in. Okay. And then, yeah, just refluff along those stitches I just did. Okay. So this bird, there's a thread showing here. What are you? This is the original thread that I cut. I just want to tuck that in. Because I got to make sure that there's no visible threads, because even if the toy will hold together just fine, I was a kid once. I picked at everything that I saw. So if I saw a thread, I'd probably pick at a thread. So, you know, put that dude back in there. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right. So here's our little plushy bird. Are you guys ready? Here it is. So yeah. So he works again. I'm really happy about that. So that's one down. Here, you can hang out here. Be very cute. All right, who should we do next? Let's do a Baltimore Oriole. So, get you out. Get those old dead batteries out of the way. And unless the batteries are corroded, right? Isn't that great? Yeah, guys, I'm so happy. I'm so happy that's working. I don't throw away the batteries unless they're visibly corroded in case the battery wasn't the problem. So if there was a loose wire or something, I'll hold on to the batteries. But all right, so one bird has its voice back. Let's see about our little Oriole here. All right. All right. So that's our Oriole. So it's working just fine. All right. Let me sew this bag up real quick. But yeah, no, I'm real happy about this. Getting those batteries back. It's just so satisfying when they get their voices back. So, put this guy. Baltimore Orioles are another bird that live in the Midwest that thanks, Shard Mom. Isn't it great? Like this is a satisfying one when they work, they're so cool. I love Baltimore Orioles because they're a big bird that's this color. They're these ridiculous orange and yellow and black and white birds. And that's another one. People are like, oh, all the birds in the Midwest are drab. And I'm like, dude, freaking Orioles. They're not even small. Like, warblers, I'll forgive people. Warblers are pretty small, and they tend to hang out in deep foliage or in the tops of trees, so they're hard to see, so fine. Like, I forgive people for never seeing a warbler. Baltimore Orioles, like, no. They will totally steal stuff from your garden and be loud about it, and they're a question of did you look? And a lot of people don't look, and I think that's too bad. But when you see an Oriole, you'll know it's an Oriole. Like, it's a humongous black and orange bird. Or like cardinals, of course. Cardinals are so great. Alright, so I'm just doing a simple little stay stitch across the top of the baggie here. I don't need to make this really fancy. I just don't want the clicker to fall out of the bag and be swimming around inside the bird. Which sounds really grim. But there we go. So the last time I managed to pick up a bunch of these voiceless birds, the Nature Museum was clearing out old inventory, and they'd just been chucking them, like, voiceless ones in a box, and didn't really have a plan. I'm like, guys, give them to me! Like, I will definitely give that a use. So... And a couple of the ones I've repaired actually did have, like, busted electronics. I had to resolder the electronics. So some of them are, like, actually, like, broken, but the whole idea that the battery's gone and that means that the bird doesn't sing anymore is just tragic. Like, I can replace a battery. I mean, I can solder the broken wires, too, and I did, but that takes more equipment than the little packet, the sewing stuff that you might get for free at a hotel. Okay. So the voice box is now just simple sewing. Sew that back up. I'll get his voice back in there. refloof. Because you want to be soft and plushy. This one, so the voice box, you guys might have noticed with the chickadee had rounded corners. None of these from this particular batch do, so they all have sharp corners. So unfortunately, you're going to feel it through the bird a little bit, but it's fine. Okay, so now I just have to sew his tummy back up. That's not enough thread. Let me get more thread. This one has a loose seam up here, too. That I might just trim off. Yeah, I'm not going to mess with that. I think that's okay. Boop. You know, I could be fancy. I probably have orange thread that I probably don't use anywhere near as much as white. So hang on a second. Let me see if I can be... Well, actually, even in here I've got yellow. Oh, shoot. Let's use some yellow. I have a strange diversity of threads because I found a sewing kit in an alley that somebody had clearly discarded out of pure anger. The whole thing must have fallen or something, and so all the threads had unraveled. And so it was like 24 different colors of thread and all sorts of other sewing ephemera in a giant knot inside this cute little sewing kit. And it was a big one. It was like that big of a box. Pretty significant box full of sewing stuff that had just fallen into a giant tangled jumble. And it was the nicest project. I just spent a winter watching Christmas movies and whatever else I was watching, slowly, carefully unraveling thread. It was great. And most of them had spools, just naked little spools sitting in the thing. And so I would just rewrap them around the spools. And so I have just like all manner of weird colors I never had before. It's great. And then a few of them, the spools were crushed, or it was so little thread that it didn't really want to stay on the spool, so I just put them in other places. But I got a lot of good stuff out of that. I didn't keep the box. The box had, like, there was some sort of crushing damage, so the box on one side was a bit funky. So I did get rid of the sewing box itself, but got to keep a lot of cool thread. Okay. I'll probably do my last stitch down towards the label. So let's start up here. Hopefully I made a... You know what? I'll do this. I'll do a quick slip knot so it won't come completely out. Because I think the other one... I forgot to do that on my first guy. So it might end up being a little loose, but it's okay. That one's for me. Doesn't have to be the best. And then, for anybody who's on, you guys can help me decide which ones to give this year as gifts. So, not all of these birds will be given away this holiday. I like having a stash of them that I have been slowly working through to give out as gifts. So, if y'all are on, you can help me with that very fun task of assigning these to children. Part of my decision has to be, I have 2 nephews that are my sister-in-law's kids, and I've been giving the birds to my older nephew for years and years, and now the younger one exists and just turned 1. And so hypothetically I could give him the birds too, but I don't think that's cool. I think the older brother, he's got a thing going, and I think muddying the waters and having the little brother also get the same type of gift is probably a bad idea. So I probably won't be giving any of these to Rowan. Which means I have to figure out another shtick for the little brother. He just learned, he's now practicing walking on his own. Still not a lot of steps, but he's done it. So now all 3 of my nephews are independently mobile with varying levels of grace. Alright. Yeah, so the top of that's already looking fine. I've got the old threads kind of tucked away, and the new stitches seem to be going fine. For a while I had this like real grandiose plan that for my 3 nephews, each one would get a different consistent theme of presents. So the kiddo I've been giving these to, everything would be birds, and maybe somebody could be insects, and somebody else could be, I don't know, reptiles, mammals, something. Mammals seem too easy. I'm going to just say that out loud. Like, they're going to get stuffed teddy bears and whatever like that, but if I can give them an iguana, that's cooler. So I was kind of leaning that way, but I think focusing too much like that's probably going to end up biting me in the butt. But I mean, kind of part of my idea with that was I would be giving them these themed gifts before they had really strong opinions. The child is 1, they don't really care if it's a beetle or a bird kind of thing, but someone who is 3 potentially does care. So then I don't have to worry about sticking with a theme anymore. I don't know. And Chardon Mom and Not Here, I don't know if you guys have noticed, I did have a theme going for a while with Calvin. He was the bug guy. So he got to get various invertebrates as the gifts. Because honestly, the world literally needs more entomologists. Like, actually. There just aren't enough to do all of the studying that is necessary to save all of the bugs. So there's you can see my hidden stitch is these reasonably straight lines, and then you just go zoop, and just fills right in there. So I'm almost done. I'm down to just the last tiny little bit of seam here. But that's looking like a, perfectly reasonable stuffed animal seam. So of course, unlike on a real bird, the fuzz here is so short that you can clearly see that there is a seam, but it's fine. It's a stuffed animal. You're expecting to see that to a certain degree. You just don't want to actually see the threads. Might make this the last stitch. This one came together really nice. I made a bigger incision here, so I had to sew up more, but actually real happy with how that looks. And yellow is a nice color. Bugs don't need saving. Ants rule the earth and will be here long after we're gone. Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you think of all insects as being one monolith of a thing, then yeah, insects broadly are fine. But there are so many specific types that do very specific things. Pretty much all pollinators, things like that. Like, I found out a crazy one that just blew my mind. There's probably thousands of species of bugs that we don't know about because they go extinct when something else goes extinct. And so even though humans didn't kill off, insect A, if you killed off the only plant that they eat or the plant that they reproduce in or live in or things like that, then they're gone. And so there's, things that we've never seen we exterminate. And then you find out that, yeah, they nested in plant A, but they pollinated plant B. And so plant B is now dying because all of its pollinators are gone because we killed off plant A, which housed its pollinators. Crazy stuff. I heard one story that just kind of blew my mind with American California condors. They famously they were about to go extinct, and so basically biologists went and rounded them all up and put every single last still existing living California condor into care to try and get a breeding program going and save the species, which, hooray, worked, and they're increasing numbers. However, part of putting them into human care is they then gave them the very best possible care, and they cleaned them of all parasites. And so they were deloused, they were dewormed, all that stuff, and so they were at the peak of health while in the care of humans. And so passed the California condor louse. It only lived on California condors and is now extinct. And it's like, huh. And, like, does it matter it's extinct? I don't know. Someone has to study that. But how weird. And then, aren't ants some significant percentage of the biomass? Yeah, probably. Anything in that family. And then, of course, beetles. Alright, so here we have a completely functional bird. You guys ready? Here it is. Alright, that's bird number 2. Yay. Alright, who's up next? Well, I mentioned cardinals. Let's do the cardinal. Oh, that's right. This guy has his little pouch sewn into there. Alright. Yay, Shard Mom, are you gonna cheer every time I finish one? That's pretty cool. I accept. Oh, you guys. Thank you. Alright. So, yep, this one's just dead batteries, too. Ugh, this bag is in rough shape. Alright, I am still going to stitch up this little bag, even though it's a kind of weird setup. Sure, let's use up more of this yellow. No reason to rethread it. It doesn't matter for the inside, if it color matches. Yeah, so this is all the stuff. Yes, you are. Thank you, I'm glad. This is the project I had really hoped to do last week, because it's super fun and satisfying, and last week was such a freaking bummer, so thanks everybody who hung around while I tried to figure out something else to do. I really appreciated it. I needed the moral support. Whereas these are just rolling along. This is so great. Repairing these are fun. So if you ever see voiceless stuffed animals in a discount bin, snap those up. And then you get to look all cool. Because that's my goal here, is I want to look all cool. I actually own 2 of these, just for myself because I like them. So one of them is the black-capped chickadee. The other one is a red-tailed hawk. And red-tailed hawks are another like super common bird in the Midwest. So you see them all the time if you're driving on highways and things like that. They're just huge birds of prey. They're really cool. However, the reason I got it is like, so many movies, it doesn't matter where the movie is supposed to be taking place, if they show a beautiful vista and they want it to be like real natural, you hear a bird call, so there, you look out over the plains and there's a bird call, or they show a bird flying high over something for some reason and there's this one particular bird call, and it's always the same bird call, it does not change, and it is the call of the red-tailed hawk, but they use it in movies to be like an eagle. Eagles don't sound like that. Eagles go ee. They make this really dumb noise. But they decided that the red-tailed hawk has the coolest sound, and so sometimes if we're watching movies or TV shows and they show like some majestic, meaningful expanse, I just grab the stuffed animal and make the bird call. and it makes me incredibly happy. So that's my nerdery with red-tailed hawk calls. And it's a very nice call. Like, the movie people had very good taste. It's just funny how everybody wants it to be an eagle, and you're like, no. Oh, they do it in the Cobra Kai? Yeah. Everybody like, Kia! Look, it's an overlook. And you're like, oh, guys, no. The Wilhelm bird call. Oh, so there's a character called Hawk. Oh, okay, well, that makes sense. At least they're calling it a hawk and not a freaking eagle. Like, that's the one that just kills me. Like, that's not what eagles sound like. That's what there's a type of hawk, and it sounds like that. But yeah, it's totally the Wilhelm hawk noise. For anybody not familiar, there's something called the Wilhelm scream, which is, I think it's still mysterious exactly where, who it was who first used it, but it's a pre-recorded yell of a guy yelling, and it goes, ah, falling off some precipice or another, and people use that exact audio in movies across decades, and so you'll just hear the Wilhelm scream in the middle of a fight scene of movie A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like just every movie ever, and it can be very funny when you pick it out. Like, for me at this point, I always hear it, which means it almost like pulls me out of the movie for a second because it's such a specific thing. Okay, so got that in there. So obviously I need red thread, which I don't have in here. So hold on, let me get some red. Okay. So this red is actually not from my my wacky find, I don't think. This is just like from one of my innumerable other kits. I have a lot of thread. I have a weird amount of thread. So, alright. So red thread for this little bird. Well, maybe. No, I think this is from a different kit. Yeah, baby cries are a pre-recorded baby noise. Yeah. It's like they just have that big keyboard of like Microsoft sound effects with the duck and the drip noise and things like that. And it's like Wilhelm scream. Boop. Baby noise. Boop. Honestly, just babies in movies are always really funny because, like, this is a newborn baby, and they hold the baby up to the camera, and it's like 6 months old. It's practically in college. You're like, that's not a newborn baby. And then every once in a while, you're like, oh no, that's a newborn baby. Okay, cool. Like they just, things happen to work out where they were able to get an actual tiny, tiny infant on set. Okay. Start stitching up here. When I was in high school, there was a specific hip-hop song, which I'm now forgetting the name of the song, but it has a recording of a baby's cry at intervals. So it's just part of the rhythmic beat of the music is this baby cry. And the radio station always played it every day at the same time. That was during our art class. Or the Scary Twilight fake baby. Yeah, right. But they always played it at the exact same time. And so we'd be in art class with the radio on, and it would come on, and we just called it the baby cry song. And usually someone would get up and just turn the radio off because it was just eerie to have it always at the exact same time every day. It's like, come on, radio station. It's one thing to have things on heavy repeat. Like, I respect that. That's how radio stations roll. But always during this exact same time during the art class, it got weird. And the song was fine. But I don't know. I don't think it really warranted that much repeat. But I'm not the one who makes those decisions, so... I got my little stitch going on. Looking good so far. That's enough, so I'll go ahead and tighten that up. So that looks real good. Pretty happy with that. Yeah, these are just coming right back together. I'm so glad this project worked out. I was so sad. Because I did have it in my mind. I was like, I'll go and hit Walgreens and spend a bunch of money on batteries again, and it'll be fine. This is so much better. Slightly delayed, but back on track. So there are a lot of cardinals in my neighborhood, which is nice. They're pretty good at living in cities. And something I hadn't realized for years until I think I was specifically wondering, have I seen a blue jay? There's basically no blue jays. And in my mind, I kind of had blue jays and cardinals in like the same category, I think because they're about the same size. And they're both, real brightly colored. But you don't really get a lot of cardinals inside the city of... a lot of blue jays inside the city of Chicago. They really prefer being out in the burbs. And they're out there, they're doing fine. But cardinals have no problem. Cardinals are city slickers. So there was a family of them this summer that I got to watch from my balcony. Because, man, I spent a lot of time sitting on my balcony. Looking at birds and really anything I could. And so I got to watch this family of cardinals raise their one successful chick. And, get it running around with its adorable little mohawk. All right. Close to the end here on this guy. This is good. So I've got almost all of the Christmas presents that needed to be something other than simply picked up, taken care of at this point. Sadly, the ones that just need to be picked up, I actually have to do that. I'm a little behind. But you know what? It's fine. Making it work. Alright, so there's that nice set of stitches. Blue jays are much bigger, though. Yeah. You are completely right. Blue jays are larger than cardinals. But all of them are bigger than sparrows, and I think that's what I kind of had in my mind. Is this the same size of a sparrow? Yes, no. But either way, it's an inaccurate inaccurate way to look at it. Okay, so let me get my knot here. A bit more black than I'd like is showing the end here, but I don't think there's a lot I can do about that. The tag is sort of limiting how creative I can get. And I could remove the tag, obviously. No one would be really sad if they didn't know it was made of all new materials or whatever it says. But I'd rather leave it on. Blue Jays are also corvids, which means they're automatically big jerk butts. Cardinals are not corvids, so they're not automatically jerk butts, though they may be individually. Hashtag not science. Have I thought about adding any of the channel points? You have so many. No, not really. I hadn't been working on that particular issue, but I'm certainly up for suggestions. I had considered a while back adding one for reciting poetry, but I definitely don't have enough poetry memorized at the moment to be able to actually make good on that. Heck, I'm vaguely... Corvids are thieving litter bugs. Yes, they are. There we go. Yeah, it looks okay. Okay, so that's all sewn back up. So you can see there's a little bit of the black kind of inner fuzz showing through here, which is not my favorite, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. All right, so you guys ready? So here it comes, the celebratory, completely repaired bird call. Yep, that's pretty great. Okay, put you there. All right, next up, woodpecker. This is a northern flicker, an eastern northern flicker. Thank you, library rat. You know it would be the western variety if the insides here wore kind of an orange. Thank you, Chardon Mom. You guys are so great. I really appreciate your cheers. It is, like, I feel really good about this whole project. It really does help. Alright, so this one I just happen to leave the batteries on. Get those off to one side. I have to be really careful with these batteries because they're exactly the sort of size that a dumb cat would play with and or eat. So I have to make sure I keep track of where they go. My cats. They're somewhat dumb. Okie dokie. Alright, let's find out. Yeah. Oh, it has the drumming! Place the drumming. That's great. So it's not just the actual vocal call, but the specific rate at which they drum on trees. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. See, I've never heard these particular guys make noise before, because when I got them, they were already voiceless. So, that's fun. Northern flickers are absolutely one of my favorite North American birds, because they are polka dotted. Nothing else up here is polka dotted as far as I know, and I absolutely just love that. So yeah, polka dot woodpecker. Lots of things are striped. Stripes are pretty common. But actual polka dots, not a thing you see much. Flickers are woodpeckers, which means that they're adapted to be able to, ram their face against trees and not knock themselves unconscious. But unfortunately, things you learn, woodpeckers are susceptible to head trauma and concussions, because it's all about how you hit something and how intentional you are with hitting that thing. And so unfortunately I have worked on a number of actual northern flickers that died of head trauma, which seems so silly to have a woodpecker die of head trauma, but there it is. So, but they are not specialized for surviving high impacts on glass when they're not ready. So, reasonable, if unfortunate. It is kind of fun to sew up the next bird's voice using the thread from the previous one. So the red on here looks very fancy. And not that I will ever need to know what order I sewed these up in, but if I wanted that information, it is encoded in, which is fun. Oh, hey, Not Here, you made it. Good to see you. So, you have the same sewing kit? Yeah. I still use it. Grandma did a good job putting that together. Parts of it are kind of worn out at this point, but... Alright, so... Got the voice. Who was it from? It was from our grandma. She made them as some sort of, like, church function or, a bunch of people sitting around doing a craft together setup. So. And that is my recollection. Or maybe she didn't make it, but she bought it from one of those things, some sort of fet. Not that I don't recall specifically, but... Okay, so I got the fuzz pretty well redistributed there, so definitely not red thread on this guy. I could do yellow, or I could do white. Probably just do white. I think white's the easy win on this guy. So I will do a complete bird concert at the end, and we'll play them all at the same time. That'll be fun. I'm just glad I have my chickadee back. I like to play my chickadee sounds in, like, the gloom of winter because it reminds me so strongly of summer. The cardinal, interestingly, the chipping sound that it has isn't my favorite version. So a lot of birds have recognizable calls, but there's variation, or there's different calls for different things. So mating calls versus territorial calls versus alarm calls versus, like, family calls, things like that. Birds actually have a lot to say, and they have a lot of different ways that they say it. And so there's a slight different version of my favorite cardinal song, but not that I'm going to try and completely mimic it here, but it sounds more like a boodly 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 noise, as opposed to this one, which is... It's not quite the boodly boodly boodly. But it's alright. Still definitely a cardinal. Okay. I wonder if I can just tie the end of this thread onto here so I don't lose it. I mean, in short, I think the answer is yes, I can. Something I've always wanted to do is get fancy with types of knots. I don't have amazing knot making skills, so, knots with names and all these. I have known how to do a falconer's knot. I don't know if I still could. And square knot, but Be kind of cool to learn other knots. And tying knots in thread is one of the main things I had to teach my taxidermy people. People would, show up ready to work in the taxidermy lab with all manner of really, really cool skills, and tying knots in thread was probably the least common skill that came up out of that whole crew. I spent a lot of time giving tutorials on tying knots. And specifically tying knots in tiny pieces of thread. Like, that's hard. That's a skill. That knot ended up being ginormous. Okay, hold on. I'm going to do this differently. So what I did here, for better or worse, is I tied the end of my fresh thread to the end of the old thread because I could see it coming out of the bird here, but it might not have been a good plan. Where does that come out? Okay. So if it doesn't work, I can just cut it, but, trying to be a little fancy. Okay, that's good enough. That gets my knot hidden, so I can just restitch this bit. Okay, that'll be fine. It's fine. It's fine. I feel good about it. Yeah, this one also has that really distinct black edge. I wonder if when they, print the patterning, if it's, on the fuzz, but you can see the cut here kind of stuff for when they're in the bird factory. Mr. Frightful, you said Ashley's Book of Knots. Not much of a read, but the illustrations are great. Ooh. How to tell your reef knot from a thief knot. Yeah, see, that's the sort of thing I don't know how to tell my reef knot from my thief knot, and I feel like that would be a good skill set to develop. And learning how to do the falconer's knot was bad enough. There's so many, and they do different things, and that's the part that I want, is different knots for different purposes, other than just showing off that you can do a thief knot versus a reef knot. The falconer's knot was cool because it was a knot you had to learn how to tie with your offhand, because your primary hand is holding up a huge bird. And so, you've got your animal on your glove, and so everything you do has to be with your offhand. And so you're only tying this knot with your non-dominant hand. So that already was cool, and it had to be a knot that could be tied with one hand, and it could be then released by just pulling on a thread. And that way you could then loose the bird right away. So the falconer's knot was really cool. And at the moment, I couldn't tell you how to do it. But I was able to learn it. I felt good about it. I actually still have my glove. I don't know if you can... Yeah, you can kind of see it. It's this brown bit here. That's my falconer's glove. There. I had that thing in my office at the museum almost the entire time I worked there, because I was like, wouldn't it be cool if this came up? It did not. It did not come up. But you be ready. You make your own luck. If there was an instance where I was going to need a bird of prey gauntlet, I had mine ready. It hung on a peg in my office. Never did that come up. But you can dream. I did get called out to go look at dead birds of prey here and there, but you don't need a fancy gauntlet for that. Although actually, I know I took it with me on at least one occasion when someone told us that there was a dead bird of prey, because, maybe people were wrong. And in that case, if I was going to be handling it at all, I'd want to have my gauntlet. But they were dead, so. It did not, in fact, come up. Okay, so we're almost sewn back up on this little guy. Good, good, good. Pip, pip, cheerio, etc. Okay, the bottom of this seam is really tight still, so that's good. Did I do this wrong? Oh yeah, I did this last stitch wrong. Doop, doop, doop. I'm distracted. Thinking about falconer's knots. Obviously. There was actually a couple events at the museum where a gentleman named Patrick came and was doing... Oh no, I did do that. I just did it kind of poorly. No, I'm going to redo this. He was doing knot tying demos, but I was always working the event, so I couldn't really go, which I think was a loss. That's the one bummer about working in a museum, is you don't necessarily get to do all the fun stuff because you're busy working. But that's okay. Trade-offs. I can't quite get this back out. Yeah, I did a bad job on this. So, you know, this was one of the stitches where you kind of go in and out, but... Could I use the gauntlet to instigate a duel of honor, like if someone slighted my stitching? How dare you? I might knock them out, is the problem, because I think you're supposed to, like, delicately take off a glove and flap somebody. Although, no, I guess that's more of, like, a glove. So throwing down the gauntlet, I could just throw it at their feet. Ooh, and it's got a big... Here, let me grab it. It's got a big clip on it, so it would clatter nicely. So yeah, it's got this big clip on it that you would attach to the jesses on the ankles of your bird, so it's already big and rattly. So yeah, throwing this to the ground at somebody would be a pretty intimidating endeavor. So yeah, there's my glove. And actually, just to prove how wrong I am, I remembered having to tie the knot with my offhand, but no, you actually hold the bird up with your offhand, because I made this gauntlet for myself and it's on my offhand. So see, this shows how much I remember. This is why you have to keep skills up. But I'm pretty proud of how this whole thing came out. And this is literally just like a regular leather work glove that you can buy at a hardware store. But then we took 2 sets of them, and you ruin one of them where you cut it in half. And so I actually sewed an extra layer of leather on top of this, so that these two fingers and the thumb are extra reinforced, and this whole side is extra reinforced. So if I did have a bird of prey on here, it would resist more gloves, or more claws through the gloves. So this was a fun project. And I had to cut the fingers short so I had any hope. Like, my finger does not reach the end of these at all. So it looks extra weird. So yeah, that's my gauntlet. I'll throw it over there instead of throwing it down for a duel. And so that glove has handled birds of prey in the class and at no point since. Which, fine. But if a bird of prey becomes injured in my neighborhood, I have a chance of being able to go out and grab it. So, be cool and all. Okay, so I've fixed this. My bad stitching error. So let's go back and make this nice. So I'm down to like needing like 1 or 2 stitches max, and then this is done. Oh yeah, that'll be fun. Okay, so tighten that guy up. So you can see that seems pretty good. And then this little part is where I'm still tying this, and so once I get that, I can just tuck that in and that should disappear. And this guy will be done. I'm very happy with it. This is a very pretty bird. So in Twitch-related thoughts, a lot of other streamers have some sort of holiday-y, winter-y, Christmas-y ness going on. You know, background stuff, hanging decorations, filters that look like snowfall, things like that. And I haven't gotten into that. And I think part of that's just still being somewhat new to Twitch. I don't have that stuff kind of planned out months in advance. So I think this year I'm not gonna worry about that, but it'd be nice in the future. I might actually roll there. One thing I'm looking forward to is I almost have enough subscribers to unlock another emote slot, because there's a limit to how many emotes you can have based on the number of subscribers. Twitch obviously really wants to incentivize getting a lot of subscribers, and so that I'll have, but since I only have like one emote per tier, I don't want to do like a holiday specific one and take up that one spot. Whereas if I had two, I could have one of my standard ones and then something goofy. I might put up something in the background. I did that for not for Thanksgiving, for Halloween, and I really liked it. So might go that route, closer to the holiday. Because what can I say? My tool pegboard is pretty good for putting stuff on. It is a pegboard after all. Okay, so I think that's a good enough knot. I just have to get this tucked in here. A little bit of that dark color showing, but for the most part, that was good. All right. Okay, here comes the celebratory bird call. Now that this little bird is entirely repaired up. You guys ready? Here he is. I love the drumming. Oh, it's so cute. So yeah, Northern Flicker has been repaired. All right. And we're on to the last bird, the final bird. Here it is. A adorable little American goldfinch. Woodfinch? Goldfinch. Oh. Let's get this guy back out. It's another one with its bag sewn in one corner. Thank you, Shardon Mom. Thanks, everybody. You guys are great. Ooh, Mr. Frightful. That's a cool emote. All right. 3 more batteries. This one battery doesn't want to come out. There we go. Okay. All right, does it work? All right. All right, so we're 4 for 0. All of these just needed new batteries. None of them... I had a little bit of corrosion on some of those batteries, but no one needed rewiring or anything, so that's great. Easy peasy. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay. Because enough of them were repaired that if I did have one that needed extra TLC, then it would just be a later gift-giving toy, and that'd be fine. But it is nice to not have to worry about that. Now this bag is... Ah! Alright. Let's get this sewn up. There's little fluffies flying around. So for anybody who saw last week's tinkering stream where I was trying to do this and failed due to lack of the correct batteries, I ended up working on that solar panel kit. And that was the other thing I had in this Amazon order that apparently was not stolen, which is pretty great, is I bought some just basic electronics alligator clips and a 2 little USB ports that you would be able to put onto like a circuit board. So I should be able to maybe just clip the alligator clips on, or I might have to solder the ends of the alligator clips onto the USB port. But if I do that, then I can actually use the solar panels to charge a cell phone, which I have to imagine will be slow as molasses, but it tickles me to think that I would have a tiny little solar charger. So I do have the stuff for that. Okay. So, hilariously, for the last couple days when I've been doing anything that's even vaguely holiday preparation-y, filling out Christmas cards, repairing these little guys, stuff like that, I have had The Nightmare Before Christmas's Making Christmas going through my head, which for anybody who's familiar, that's a very forceful, somewhat unpleasant song. It's kind of a march. And so that's what I have in my head right now. But okay, it's not inaccurate, even in tone. The sound very much benefits from being behind a little bit of padding. It's a little too sharp out here in the world. Alright, so I've got 5 batteries for my next project, which I can just chuck in my battery box before I get too much farther along. Alright. I have a bunch of these little buttons that I get to dispose of, but that's fine. Oh, loose thread there. And then all right. Cool. I think yellow thread is the way to roll here. It seems only appropriate. So I'll use up more of my odd yellow here. Okay. Sounds good. So I'm actually, in continuing holiday stuff, planning on getting my Christmas tree this evening. It's been nice and dry and warmish in Chicago. It's in the 50s, so it's actually kind of fancy nice out there. So at the end of the workday today, when my spouse gets off of work, we'll probably go out and buy a Christmas tree and then, let it sit in the back stairwell for a night to finish drying out and relax a little bit. And then tomorrow, when Rita's off of work, then we can decorate it. And it's sort of funny, I don't own that many Christmas decorations. This is the largest apartment I've been in ever independently. And so I just I didn't have a lot of decorations to begin with because I didn't have a lot of space for them. And I moved here and then there's more volume. And then, stuff has been lost over the years. I used to have a lot more garland that's gotten a bit funko and had to be thrown away at various points. And so the Christmas tree has potentially every Christmas ornament I ever received as a kid. So it's boxes and boxes and boxes of Christmas ornaments. And it's just a lot. So that's going to be just crusted. It almost doesn't matter the size of the tree. We get something that could be like touching the ceiling and it groans under all of these decorations. So even though the rest of the apartment's a bit sparse, the tree itself is lavish. So that should be interesting. Also, getting to use lavish in a sentence is also sort of a fun treat. Alright, little birdie. The fifth and final birdie. Getting its voice back. Goldfinches are funny because they're very common. Very pretty little birds. And they're gold, right? And females are like a striped olive yellow with black and white wing bars. So they're fairly brightly colored, noticeable little birds. And yet when people would drop off like a dead bird or an injured bird and be like, yeah, I found this finch and it's brown. And I'm like, that's a sparrow. Even without knowing exactly which type of sparrow it is, it's always going to be a sparrow. Because this is what a finch looks like. There's a few other finches. There's like purple finches, which, as the name implies, are purple. And so, like, a female purple finch is kind of drab. They're more on the sparrow end of, like, brown and stripy. But goldfinches certainly aren't. And purple finch males aren't. But everybody wants to say it's a finch. And I don't know why. It's just a weird thing. People find a little brown bird and like, oh, it's a finch. And I'm like, what? No. It's a sparrow. Or, innumerable other birds. But if you want to just guess blind and be like, I'm in North America, I'm in the Midwest, and it's a brown slightly stripy bird, it's a sparrow. There's like 11 different species of sparrow that it could be. It's a sparrow. If it's big, it's a thrush. And if it's little, it's a water thrush. Which is not a thrush, which is unfair, because sometimes naming conventions are bad. A water thrush is a warbler, not a thrush. Whereas a robin is a thrush. So, naming conventions, they're sometimes absolutely evil. And a red-bellied woodpecker does have red on its head. This is why people get crazy when they try to do bird identification. Alright, so I've got that about half done, so we'll get the nice tightening. Zoop. That looks real good. Do that some more. So I got this guy about half sewn up. The bird people that I'm absolutely in awe of are the ones who can ID bird calls. I am rubbish at it. I try. So black-capped chickadee, got it. Freaking got it. Red-tailed hawk, freaking got it. I got those. But most of the rest of them, like, I have to listen to little stuffed animals like this to be like, what does a goldfinch sound like? Oh, thank goodness. Like, honestly, this line of toys exists for me. So I can practice what the birds actually sound like. So that stuff's hard. And I've known people, a lot of people where they're out and they're just like, oh, I hear a whatever. And I'm like, I don't. And it's so cool when you are with somebody who's got that skill. I'm absolutely in awe. And then the best is when you have just enough knowledge, when you learn just enough bird calls that you can look back and be like, by gum, they were right. It was that, whatever that was. That's a cool feeling. I'm getting better at frog calls. That's the one, just because there's less of them, so it's easier to build that skill up. I'm getting okay at frog calls. Because there's a fair number of frogs that I'd hear the call and I didn't know if it was like a frog or an insect. There's a lot of those. So I've gotten pretty okay with, no, that's a frog. And I get to feel all cool about it. I got a little bit of the white showing here, which is not my favorite, but let's see if I can fix that for the next handful of stitches. If anybody wants to hear interesting frog calls and practice identifying said frog calls, there is a handy-dandy little website, at least for the Midwest United States, handy-dandy little website called callingfrogs.org. And callingfrogs.org is specifically trying to get people to participate in citizen science to count and help preserve frogs. Which, by the way, if you're in an area that covers, cool, you should totally do that. It's real nice. If you're not, though, you can still benefit from the sounds. And one of my favorite parts of that website is not only does it have the calls, so you can just practice listening to the calls and be able to ID the frogs. So if you live anywhere in the region where those frogs occur, that's real helpful to you. But it has a text description of what the frog call should sound like. And one of them is described as a screaming goat or an angry goat. And it's great because you listen to it and you're like, yeah. It's just magnificent. So if you're in the woods and you hear a screaming goat, it might be a screaming goat, or it might be one of these frogs. And that's just amazing. The Calling Frog survey is one of those just really cool citizen science things, or community science things. And community science is stuff, like, heck, if anybody knows about SETI at home, have you ever heard a pigeon scream? Probably? But I've heard a rabbit scream. That's a messed up noise. Don't tick off a rabbit. But community science is rad. Usually somebody in your area or on the internet wants your help doing something that so far humans are still better at than machines for one reason or another. Sounds like a howler monkey. Okay, that's cool. And so no matter where you are in the world, there's somebody who wants your help doing some science. And the cool thing about citizen science is it's real science that gets actually used. And so, like, the Calling Frog survey is anybody who wants to help, you learn the frogs' calls, and you go out and you walk a very specific type of path in a very specific area at specific times of the year, listening for these frogs, and recording what you hear. And you give that information to the research team, and they add it to the giant mountain of all the other calling frog data they've gotten in. And that huge pile of data is what gives them something to study. And so let's say you do it wrong. You misidentify a frog, or you miss some, or things like that. It doesn't matter. One or two mistakes, little mistakes here and there, the study will go on, because what they're looking at is thousands and thousands of data points. And so it really has to do with trends. And so if you have one data point that's out of whack, it's okay because there's enough to outweigh it. It's just a question of quantity. There he is. Sorry, guys. I squeezed him a little too soon because I was checking that bottom seam. But there we go. Here's our goldfinch. Totally sewn up. Back in action. Now, here's the official celebratory bird call. That's pretty great. Okie dokie. So, dear viewers, we have American Goldfinch. Thank you, Chardon Mom. We have a Cardinal. Woo! We have a Baltimore Oriole. Let me move this over so you can see these guys a little bit better. We have a Northern Flicker and a Black-capped Chickadee. So, I'm going to set them all off. I'm doing that again. That was funny. Let's see. Oh, it's so satisfying. Okay, so this guy is mine. He's going to go back on my shelf. So now I have 4 birds. It is certainly prettier than an entire display of Daleks. Absolutely. Less villainy. Okay, so now I have to figure out which ones to give as holiday presents. So, thank you, Not Here. And so, Not Here and Chardon Mom, you may have an opinion on that if Calvin would like to receive one of these. And then I should give another one to Shane, my other nephew, who is of age. And then the remaining 2 will go back into the fund of birds that I can give out for later gift giving. Because let me see. I have a list of all the ones I have presented to Shane so far so that I don't accidentally give a repeat, because that would be a faux pas. Gift giving repeats. Like, you're the worst aunt ever if you make that mistake. So, let's see. Oh, okay, so Shane has already gotten a Baltimore Oriole. Oh, and Calvin's favorite color is orange. Well, hey, don't tell him. Or maybe it'll be all the cooler because he's seen this bird on stream. Hello. So, yeah, Shane's already gotten a Baltimore Oriole. So, maybe Goldfinch. He says brown. This one? Okay, so Not Here is this one more Calvin's idea? Our polka dotted brown one? Or do you think the Oriole? And actually, I was reading this wrong. I hadn't given Shane an Oriole yet. It was on my list of potentials. So the ones that he's already gotten are a snowy owl, a robin, and a mockingbird, which are pretty cool already. So yeah, Not Here. I need an additional bit of feedback from you. I think Shane, I might go with the Goldfinch. I think that's a good one for right now. Orange and black. Boom. Alright. So, the Flicker and the Cardinal will wait for a future gift-giving event. So, these 2 little friends... Alright. These 2 little friends will get it in the mail. And somehow I think spoilering a Christmas present for the 2-year-old is not really gonna make him unhappy, so... I'm fine with that. Alright. Okay, so now we have a plan. Oh, and actually, opinion from anybody on the stream. Some of these birds have these little hangers, the little plastic hangers. Should I just preemptively remove that? I think having the label is good, Oh, you can see the original price. I saved, I don't know if you can see what the $10, $9.99. I'll take that off because I'm all classy and stuff. Oh, he says he doesn't like presents. Okay, well then this isn't a present. That's fine. Okay, Shard Mom, you're saying, yeah, I should take the little dongly thing off. Because I think leaving the tag is nice. You know, it tells you American Goldfinch. It's got information about them. You know, so this is staying on. But yeah, let's get this tag off its head. So, there. That's off. Okay. And then this guy didn't have one. It's just got the... And it's got a different... less informational... Oh, this one's merely $8.99. Yeah, so different tags from different years. Or different shipments. Because these are both Audubon birds. Just one of them has a different tag than the other because of reasons. Okay. Actually, let me take those off the other birds too. While I'm here. And thinking about it. Because then these are 100% ready to go. Alright, that's one. Yeah, because obviously those hangers are nice if you're in the retail outlet and they can hang them up, but we are past that point. Okay. Okay. So, these are done. I'm really happy about that. So that's yet more Christmas stuff, making Christmas, taken care of. And then for anybody who was watching last week when I was working on the solar panels, boop, it's my little solar panel. I went and bought, I didn't have any electrical alligator clips, which I realized I should just have. They're just good test leads if you're doing various things. They're useful. So I got a pack of these guys. And then I bought USB ports. And so that's just the completed little circuit board USB port, so I can, you know, plug the cell phone into here. So, yeah, I think I can just clip these on. If not, I would be... Oh, there are two of these. What am I doing? Doop, doop, doop. Basic electronics. Doopity, doop, doop, doop. Let's do wire red one. So I can keep track of positive and negative. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, basic electronics, you fail me. It's okay. Yeah, because what I could do, too, is, you know, actually snip these wires and solder them onto here, but I'm going to see if this just works. So that would be cool. And so... the white one's negative, red's positive. I don't remember on here which was supposed to be which. So, let's just plug it into something and see what happens. Yeah. No, that was on there well enough. And then do I have something USB that would immediately show up if it was getting power? I just need a thumb drive with a light on it. Nope. In the past, I've had various whimsical thumb drives that did all sorts of silly things, but... There, this one has a light on it. So I don't know if my lamp here will be enough to cause this to do anything, but wouldn't that be fun if? reverse these. Nope. My fake sun desk lamp is not enough to cause this to actually emit any power. But now I have a setup, so hypothetically I have this and I have the USB port. If I put this in a sunny window, it might actually generate enough. So I won't be able to do that here at my desk, but I will now put that on my Instagram if that works. So I'll let you guys know if that actually functions. If my little backup plan from last week when the birds weren't working will back me up this time. Oh, all right. Well, I feel super successful. I feel real good about this. Christmas continues to chug along and be successful. Hooray. I'll move that to the side. So, alright. So then I guess I better get these guys packaged up and shipped out for Christmas, since that is their purpose. So, alright. Well, thanks everybody. This was good. I feel really successful. This is what I meant to do last week, but, you know, whatever. We got there eventually. And now I'm way ahead on presents, which I'm pretty happy about. Alright, then I'm going to wrap it up a little bit early today just because this is a super satisfying point. So I will be on Saturday. I have to finish up that Morning Dove. I'm actually stopping at the collection of the Chicago Academy of Sciences Saturday morning to drop off the 2 birds that I've completed for their taxidermy projects for them. So I'm going to be dropping those off. So that means when I do the Morning Dove, it won't actually go to the Academy this week, but I'll do a later drop off for that. So that keeps moving right along. So yeah, things are chugging along. I've got lots of Christmas to do this weekend. I know about you guys, but holidays are here. And is Hanukkah starting today or tomorrow? Like, we're right in the thick of it. We're right in the middle of all of those Decemberween celebrations. So whichever Decemberween is your Decemberween, I hope it's a good one. So if you celebrate Hanukkah, have a great 7 crazy nights. Alright, then I will be back on Saturday. Thanks for hanging out with me, everybody. Thank you for all the cheering, keeping me going. I needed a lot of successes. It's been a little rough, so this was really nice. And I will talk to everybody later.